a brief of how blockchain really works and how in the world do we implement smart contracts on this blockchain based network, wherein there is no human intervention required in order to be able to proceed and execute a contract between two different organizations. And how do we really interact and deploy smart contracts, and how do we interact with that smart contract in the real world? Let's take a small look over it. So as we have learned about blockchain, that it's a chain of blocks having some sort of information within those blocks, and that information is being chained through multiple chains of network, which is creating a blockchain. Now what if on those multiple chains of network you are coding law that is no more storing of these acts, these criminal acts and other acts, business acts, in form of a book, or no need to consult a lawyer, but the code becomes the law. That is, if you don't pay your insurance on time, you will automatically be billed for your taxes, for your service charge or surcharge, or if you don't pay your income tax on time, you will automatically be levied some penalty and taxes. Or if you jump a red light, there's no traffic cop who's there to stop you, but rather a CCTV camera through which your image of your license plate gets recorded, and the challan or the fine amount is automatically deducted from your crypto wallet, from your Bitcoin, Ethereum wallet, which is connected to your Facebook account. But what are some of the features which we can analyze over here? Now this could replace the traditional contracts in the blockchain context. That is, you don't have to worry about the organizations having such lengthy paperwork that is stored somewhere, maybe on a piece of paper or in a legal binding contract with the government. Here this is an autonomous and authorityless program wherein there is no central authority, there is no government over here, but it's an authorityless autonomous program that directly control these numerical securities and digital assets based upon these mutually agreed terms. And what we can see over here at the molecular level is that these are just if-and-then statements, that if the person jumps the red light, then what you do is, during the red light is red, using an AI algorithm, you can just take in the license plate number, then after taking the license plate number, you verify that license plate number with the name of the person, and then integrate his Facebook or Aadhaar linked account, and with that account you automatically deduct the fine or the fee for jumping the red light. This seems a more easier and autonomous way of executing this kind of contract without having any traffic cops to be sitting and watching for cars that are jumping red light all day, as humans are subject to errors and a cop might miss someone, but a machine and a camera with the kind of algorithm programs won't miss that. So it has an owner and a life cycle. That is, there is no authority, but there is a person, there is a network that is owning this. And in case of an organization, this has the owner, that is the organization itself, or between, let's say, the Amazon product seller and the buyer. So it's the buyer here who is the owner of this kind of contract. He has the permission to cancel this contract or cancel his Amazon order, his Amazon products, maybe some clothes, maybe some dental products, maybe some toothpaste, or whatever that he or she has ordered through this decentralized blockchain-based marketplace. And these are executed on a crypto cryptocurrency based virtual machine, which is Ethereum virtual machine here in our case. But this sounds really good, and as if even too good to be true, that if you could just integrate artificial intelligence with blockchain, there might be a solution for almost like every task, from logistics to, let's say, labor monitoring at the legal estate or building facility, construction facility, and that could also well be automated with robots and machines and blockchain based algorithms to keep an account of it in real time, and it could show us the progress over the blockchain network of how much the building has been, how much the real estate project has been accomplished without any need of human intervention. Using robots you can construct, or a 3D based kind of printer wherein you create a map, and after that map is being executed. Like these days there are 3D printed homes which are being created. Just an idea here, let's say 3D home printing. So there's a whole home, a whole house that could be 3D printed in a 3D manner. Let's have a look over it.
The idea of 3D printing our buildings is nothing new. Faced with a desperate need to construct more homes faster and in a more efficient way, countless innovators have found themselves drawn by the idea of being able to quickly print a structure, and have spent years trying to scale the technology. But for all their efforts, that 3D printed world has proven elusive, and many impressive prototypes have struggled to become viable for mass production. But things have just taken a massive step forward in Germany, with the completion of the first ever 3D printed home to become fully certified under a national government's building regulations. The impact of this moment for construction and for the buildings we all use could be huge. With the promise of cutting waste, reducing time on site, and addressing labour shortages, some see 3D printing.
And using autonomous machines, all of this progress can be taken into account, and using cameras you can use some computer vision concepts to make sure that without any human intervention the building gets constructed according to the blueprint and according to what the guidelines the government has, and everything taken into account. With all of this network and the land area, the permissions and stuff like that, all available over the network. But these are not suitable for all kinds of contracts such as legal ones. There are ways, there are issues which might be required to be subjectively solved, or they might require a subjective judgment even if no objective facts are transcribed, such as without an undue delay or beyond a reasonable doubt. Taking an example of that Amazon order which we were talking about, like supposedly some buyer received some products in, let's say, without packaging, and during the return the automated drone is not accepting the return because it arrived, because return are not possible without original tags or packaging. But just an example of how this could be. Or maybe the Amazon pickup or return delivery guy is not able to pick up your return because it has not arrived to him in original tags and packaging. But the buyer complaint here was that that the seal was broken and it didn't arrive in the original packaging. So that was the actual issue of the client, but in that same issue is the return is not getting picked up. So there is a subjective judgment here that needs to be intervened, that requires intervention over here to make a justice to the decision, to the situation and the circumstance. And such kind of legal contracts might be a better solution, that the company itself or the organization takes a look into the situation of what really happened. These can only solve, but with this kind of an example, we can take an outlook of that this could solve majorly issues which can objectively decided and based upon the facts, but not for all situations. But yeah, considering that this could be the future for homemaking, for supply chain management, for filing your taxes, for property management, and for the insurance claims, which we just discussed, that if you didn't file your insurance claim, or maybe for the insurance company to have better claims, they could install some sensors into your car, and using those information from that self-driving autonomous driving vehicle, you could have information of sensors like the engine oil, or like the tire pressure and everything, or maybe how many kilometers it has run. Maybe it's a due for insurance, it's due for service now, something like that. Lots of things, lots of applications could be implemented and deployed using this very interesting and very beneficial kind of concept, which we'll be seeing in much more detail in our practical lecture. But then the question comes, how do we create a smart contract, how do we execute a smart contract, and how do we interact with it? So the smart contract really works in Solidity. Here Solidity is a language that is created on Ethereum blockchain, and some of the examples of these integrated development environment are Remix, which is JavaScript virtual machine. There's a test RPC network using which we can send some test coins, just so that we don't end up spending real cash for testing our software development code. And there's a bytecode, which is an application binary interface which lets us convert our code into a binary computer language, which is understood by the computer and the blockchain network, so that in case there is an update in Solidity, or Solidity goes through an upgrade, still you have the raw bytecode through which the computer language can understand that what were you actually trying to say. So we can think of this as maybe say an interpreter, like say maybe like let's say that this is an English guy. Let's say here this is a translator, and this is the interpreter, and this translator understands only English. Let's type ENG. But then a new translator comes who says, okay, I know French. Now how would the already executed contracts be completed that are still in progress, or maybe some other contracts which were based on the previous contracts? How would that be handled now? So Solidity takes care of that by converting our code into bytecode and application binary interface, and then deploying it to the contract address. So that is how it takes care of this life cycle. And these are not self-executable. These require an external call to be executed, otherwise the pending one calls of its implemented functions. Once it is executed, the transactions resulting from the execution are transcribed on the blockchain, like we were just discussing, that each and every transaction will be publicly visible, like where did the PM Care Modi fund actually went from the blockchain, from their account, where did they actually spend that political money which they promised was for donation purposes or for social or let's say economic welfare. Did it actually happen? So you can take a public outlook over every transaction, each and every transaction. Like let's open etherscan.io. Here virtually there are all the transactions which have happened. Let's click on an address. Now we are here on an Ethereum address, and here we can see all of the transactions which have happened over this Ethereum network, over this Ethereum address. And by clicking on this transaction, we can see that from this account the money went into this account. So same way you can see where did the PM Care Modi fund actually went from their account, from their Bitcoin wallet, to which Bitcoin wallet was it sent, and why was it sent also. Maybe we can find out using some artificial intelligence based techniques and some of the other key components of blockchain, and using the RTI power of from a government, we can get to know where did this money actually went. So you cannot hide black money in this kind of a system, in this kind of a contract. This is like a judge could be bribed, cases could be bribed, but code cannot be bribed, a robot cannot be bribed. And contract address and its application binary interface are needed in order to communicate with the smart contract, and the smart contract execution can be launched by a human, that is a private key account, or the Amazon customer, or by a smart contract like a public key account, which is automatically called. Let's say every year you're supposed to pay some amount of loan, your EMI, so it automatically gets triggered at certain point of the year. And now let's take a brief outlook of how do we implement this kind of thing in the real world in our code editor. Let's see how can we deploy a smart contract and get to know how can we interact with it, how does it really happen, come to the surface.